How we doing, everybody? It's your guy Wardy here, and I'm smiling cheek to cheek because it's hard not to after the Mets just swept the Halos there by a final score of 6-3. And if you guys want to know my immediate reaction and analysis to that latest series sweep for the Mets, make sure to check out our post-game live coverage that happened already at the time this video first dropping, after you guys have already watched this one. And thank you kindly for exactly that, because today we're not just talking about the wins for the Mets as of late on a 4-game heater to be exact. We're talking about what the Mets may in fact be doing trade-wise from now leading up to the deadline. And reporting has in fact dropped over the past just couple hours at the time this video first coming out, which states that not only is Dylan Cease made available by the Padres via trade leading up to the deadline. One, why are the Padres even considering trying to trade him? Two, what are they looking for in return? And three, why are they interested in the Mets as a potential suitor, as David Stearns has already reached out to AJ Preller to try to make a potential trade happen there. So we're going to expand on what you need to know about Dylan Cease, the pros and cons that come with the veteran right-hander, why he would make sense versus maybe not make sense for this rotation versus others, what it'll take to acquire him, what the assets would have to be in order to land someone like Dylan Cease, and everything in between. So folks, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on your way in. Help us get to our next short-term goal of 34,000 subscribers. We're just a couple hundred away, and we're giving away a Mets jersey to one lucky subscriber once we hit that milestone, so make sure to hit those buttons. Thank you kindly for that, and let me know the initial reactions in the comments down below. Are you for or against a potential Dylan Cease trade there to Flushing, Queens? Let me hear it all and why, and thank you guys as well for hearing from our amazing sponsor today at SeatGeek that have you covered for all of your ticketing needs. Simply head over there to SeatGeek, everybody, and utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. Link down below in the description, and you're going to want to be at Citi Field, so you might as well save some dough in the process, because there's 41,000 plus strong at Citi Field in that homestand there against the Halos during the week, mind you. So if you guys are not getting the ballpark now, I don't know when you're gonna. If you want to save some money, utilize SeatGeek. Thank you kindly for that, as well as hearing from our amazing sponsors that many of you guys know well, Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. Hey Mets fans, if you love diving deep into the numbers like WAR or ERA, then you absolutely are going to love what today's video sponsor Moomoo brings to your investing game. Think Moneyball, but this time for your portfolio. I'm beyond excited to share that Moomoo, the proud trading platform of the New York Mets, is here to level up your investing. Moomoo is a global trading platform currently serving over 25 million users in markets like the United States, Canada, Singapore, and Japan. Whether you're just starting out or if you're a more seasoned trader, Moomoo's app and desktop platform offers commission-free trading on stocks, ETFs, and options, no contract fees either. So plus, you get premium tools, guys, whether it's going to be the institutional grade analytics, Morningstar research, and analyst ratings, all free for funded users. And right now, Moomoo is doubling down for Mets fans. Sign up through my exclusive link down below, make a qualifying deposit, and get up to, yes, 60 free stocks, plus not one but two Mets Suite tickets. Not to mention, Moomoo customers can get free tickets to all Monday home games at Citi Field, and who knows, you may even see me at a game. And with zero commissions and zero contract fees on stock and ETF options, you keep more of your wins. Are you guys ready to trade smarter? Download Moomoo now and swing for the financial fences. And shout out once more to Moomoo for being an amazing sponsor here on the platform. Alrighty, folks, let's hop right into this. And one final thing from Wardy, I will be showing you guys a clip of Wardy Day towards the end of the show for you guys to check out. In case you guys don't know what that is, I will be hanging out with you Mets fans at Citi Field August 1st, their fireworks night, game 1 against the San Francisco Giants. Cannot wait to see all you amazing Mets fans there. And we have awesome perks that come along with those tickets. We have less than 10 tickets available, so that's linked down below in the description and in the comments, and I'll tell you more about it later on. But let's get into this reporting. Where does this stem from? As you guys can see along with me right here, right now, it comes from, yes, Buster Only of ESPN. If you guys know a thing or two about Wardy, then you know very well that I am not the biggest Buster Only fan. I never have been. I don't think I really ever will be, especially because he usually goes out of his way to talk down on our Metsies. But today, it's actually the opposite of talking down. If anything, it's talking up, because he does report the following. A surprise name has emerged in the starting pitcher market, and that's Dylan Cease, who will be eligible to free agent at this year's end. And among the suitors that are in the market for him, we have, yes, the New York Mets, multiple American League teams, and the Cubs are among those teams that are currently reaching out. I've already talked about him there with the Padres. And then we see furthermore, Padres have talked to the Orioles about Charlie Morton, the veteran right-hander. So maybe the plan is to add a starter like Morton if Cease is dealt for other assets. Now, that actually makes a lot of sense when you understand the context as to why the Padres would be going out of their way to trade Cease here. And let me expand as to why that is. Because as you guys can see right here, here are Dylan Cease's numbers here in the big 2025. And I think the most important thing that we need to make note of with Dylan Cease, as you guys see, is that 4.6 ERA is not sexy at all. But the 3.36 expected ERA is fantastic. The 3.28 SI ERA is really important because those are the numbers that tell you what a pitcher can actually control versus actually bearing in mind defensive metrics, things that Cease can't control, but aren't actually labeled as errors, so they still hurt him and his line in the end. So Dylan Cease, to say this man has been unlucky is an understatement. Before all you jump in the comments and tell me, Wardy, I want nothing to do with the veteran right-hander, even in his walk year at $13.75 million. He's a free agent at the end of the season. I don't want anything to do with him. I got to be honest, Wardy, and that's because I don't like that inflated ERA. While I respect that opinion, I hope that opinion changes to a degree once you understand the context here. When we take a look at Dylan Cease's numbers, as you guys can see right here, shout out my guy Michael Marino for first relaying this, initially from John PGN there on X. But these are what you need to know on not only a pitcher's baseline ERA, but SI ERA. SI ERA and expected ERA, these numbers tell you what a pitcher actually controls and what his ERA essentially should be. And to have an ERA of 4.88 there in the case of Cease there, at least in that area, and then a 3.41 SI ERA, mind you, it's down to 3.28 now, so this is off by at least one starter. So it tells you that he has the most drastic difference from ERA to SI ERA among any eligible starter in Major League Baseball. The reason why that's important, everybody, is because it tells you that Dylan Cease is not only a clear change of scenery candidate, but also one that has been the most unlucky starter, you could rightfully argue, in Major League Baseball. No one has had that drastic of a differential than Cease. Zach Allen, funny enough, another potential Mets target by this year's deadline. New Jersey native there from the East Coast. Gallen, inflated 5.4 ERA, but a 4.18 expected ERA. Then you look at Jack Flaherty, a 4.65 to a 3.47. Brandon Pfaadt there from the Diamondbacks, over 5 to a just over 4 there on the expected. Jesus Luzardo as well, a 4.1 when he's really a 3.5 ERA guy. Luzardo's always better than what that baseline ERA usually makes him out to be. Severino's in this category too, even though it's not nearly as drastic. The point is that for Dylan Cease to be in kind of an island, a class of his own in this category, is telling that this is absolutely a guy that's not only a change of scenery candidate, but one who I think would really, really thrive. Again, continue to be in a playoff push, but this time for a team not named the Padres. Because if you ask any Padres fan how they feel about Dylan Cease, they will all tell you that they like Dylan, but he's been underwhelming versus what they were hoping that they were initially getting when they traded for him that we saw last March. Because Cease was rock solid for the Padres in his 2024 season. However, his big bugaboo that we saw was come postseason play. We know that Cease got rocked by the Dodgers and was far from that kind of starter that they were hoping that he would ultimately turn out to be. Dylan not only is having himself, in my opinion, a very slept-on season, because I will exclude that ERA easily when I'm looking at all these expected numbers. The 139 on the strikeouts is great. You also look at the 11.5 K per nine this season to just a 3.2 walks per nine. Dylan Cease, who usually walks a lot of guys, is right around league average this season in walk rate. So he is not walking guys at an alarming rate like he has the same degree, which is why his career walks per nine is north of 4 at 3.7 to be exact, as you guys see in the numbers down below. So let's get into why would the Padres even consider trading someone like Dylan? Let's start there. The reason why they would consider it is because they need offense. I've spoken to multiple people that have ties in the Padres organization over the past 24 hours. And the commonality that I had with every single person that I talked to is that they all completely understand that if Cease is dealt, it's because they're looking to add offense. What can the Mets provide in offense? That's where we have the infielder conversation, everybody. Because what would the Padres want? They would love a Luis Angel Acuna. As a matter of fact, the Padres heavily sought and scouted Luis Angel Acuna going back to this past offseason when the initial Dylan Cease Mets rumblings were happening before the season. So they are not at all unfamiliar with Acuna and his upside. They like Acuna a lot. They also have an appetite to varying degrees with guys like Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, and Ronnie Mauricio. Now, when you look at the infield configuration right now for that Padres team, they certainly could be utilizing another guy there at that second base position there. Second short area versus third base, you know, is going to be handled with Manny without a problem. But the fact that they've had to rely on a Jose Iglesias, who has not been, oh my God, he has not been that Mr. OMG. He's just been, oh my God, you know, kind of like not loving what I'm seeing. below league average player. Defensively, he can be a stud with the glove, but again, not giving you the production you're looking for. They're grasping at straws right now, the Padres, to find offense internally, because with the ups and downs that guys like Jackson Merrill have had this season from being injured, as well as just his inconsistencies, to what you're getting in Xander Bogaerts, which is either greatness or a whole lot of nothing, and a lot of the times it's been a whole lot of nothing. You have, of course, Fernando Tatis Jr., who when Nando's hot is one of the best players in baseball. When he's cold, he gets ice cold, like Francisco Lindor. So there's drasticness there. And then Manny. Manny's typical Manny, but, you know, you're not going to get necessarily max effort out of Manny every time out there. All the more reason as to why the Padres would like to add offense. And they would be willing to try to make a trade happen for Cease, who is in a walk here and has an inflated ERA. This is prime time for David Stearns if he wants to make a trade for Dylan Cease, because you're not going to get Dylan Cease at a better value than what you are right now. The only other exception is to wait until the free agent market. But if you're the Mets, do you want to invest 6-7 years in Dylan Cease? No, of course you don't. But would you mind Dylan Cease down the stretch here to add to your rotation? No. I don't think the Mets would mind that at all. That's why David Stearns is actively having those conversations, right? So Cease, what is the appeal about him? This is a man that is a workhorse. This is a guy that could easily be in the 200-plus punchy category on the strikeouts. One right, he's one of the more nasty right-handers out of all eligible pitchers in the National League. If the evidence from the highlights beside me isn't enough, I don't know what is. So you have to ask yourself as a Mets fan, and David Stearns in particular, if the Padres really want to trade Cease, what can the Mets do differently, right? Because you never want to basically take someone's damaged goods, if you will, in the sense that even in a win-now stage, the Padres may rather trade Cease away if it helps the team now, because they're confident in their pitching to a degree, and they also know how much they need offense. And for the Mets, we know lineup-wise, they're pretty much solid there, with the exception of maybe adding, you know, an outfielder like a Luis Robert, a Cedric Mullins, a pipe dream, and Jarren Duran, among others that we haven't maybe talked about to this point. But outside of those offensive pieces, when you look on the pitching end, this rotation configuration right now could absolutely love a Dylan Cease. And by bringing in Dylan Cease, that would then box out a Clay Holmes, which means that you can then utilize Clay more in that just swingman role, or kind of as a reliever again. As Andy Martino of SNY reported just earlier today, the Mets are considering Clay Holmes as a reliever again. It's not impossible to happen. And as I spoke with Will Salmon of The Athletic in our segment yesterday for you guys to check out in case you haven't already, I highly implore you to do exactly that. We broke down everything that he's currently hearing that David Stearns plans to do leading up to the deadline. And when speaking on ace caliber pitchers in general, because that is the area that the market the Mets are currently in, when I asked Will what pitchers come to mind, he said Joe Ryan for the Twins, but that's basically it. Well, folks, fast forward 24 hours later, and Dylan Cease has now entered the fold. And not only have the Mets had lasting Cease connections going back to his time with the White Sox, they've scouted and liked him for multiple years. Steve Cohen would probably tell you he knows a little bit about Dylan Cease, if I had to guess, because there's been constant dialogue going on with him and the potential of the Mets trading for him each of the past 2.5 seasons, really. So Cease, I understand not loving the baseline ERA, but understanding the context of how he got here, how unlucky he is of a pitcher, and how much he may thrive there now with a contending team that has a lab with Jeremy Hefner, with Eric Yagers, with Desi Driscoll, could bow to be something special for this team. And then you mean to tell me that asset-wise, it's going to be cheaper than ever to land Dylan Cease, meaning that you could either land Dylan Cease potentially just for prospect capital alone, or what the Padres would be doing to add immediate oomph for their lineup. Would you, as a Mets fan, consider a trade, a Mark Vientos for a Dylan Cease, a Luis Angel Acuna, and maybe a couple other assets of lesser value for Dylan Cease? I understand the lack of appeal because he's a rental, and I completely understand not wanting to part ways with an infielder for that reason. But if you're going to have to give up an infielder in that category, not named Brett Beatty, and hopefully not Roddy Mauricio, because those are the two most unlikely guys to be dealt. It's Acuna, Vientos, Mauricio, Beatty, in that order of guys that are the least likelihood of being traded. Mets love Beatty. They love what he's been doing defensively, especially offense. He's been more than fine there as of late. Vientos has been very Jekyll and Hyde between his health and lack of consistency, even though I say this as he's on a 5-game heater. Acuna, we know he has more limited options than anyone else as to his role on this team. And Roddy Mauricio has some of the best upside, you could rightfully argue, when looking at raw power potential. That also could be appealing to the Padres. So what would it take to land Dylan Cease? It should not take much. At absolute most, it should be one of those assets that we talked about and potentially something else on the prospect end to a lesser degree. But when you compare Cease to even guys like Sandy Alcantara, or even, look at the Diamondbacks guys and Kelly, and also there in Zach Gallen, among others, all these guys are likely going to be going for higher price points or in similarity to Cease at best, because Dylan hasn't had the prototypical season baseline ERA-wise that he was otherwise hoping to do. And expand more on Dylan and his game, everybody, what you guys should know about him is as follows. Because again, he's got a nasty arsenal. This is not a guy that I would be overly opposed to bringing in. It all just comes down to what you're giving up. What do you have to give to get in this situation? If you're the Padres in a win-now stage, you're not going to give up Dylan for nothing. But at the same time, you're clearly inclined to part ways with him because you think he could thrive elsewhere, and you want that immediate for your offense. I completely understand that being the Padres' philosophy right now. He's in the 73rd percentile in breaking run value, 65th in off-speed run value, 71st in expected ERA, 75th in expected batting average, 87th in fastball velo, one of the hardest throwers in all Major League Baseball, sitting 97, touching triple digits on the gun ways, right? Just above league average in average exit velocity. So while, he has been getting hit, has been terrible there. 89th percentile in chase percentage, 94th in walk and whiff percentage, 89th in K percentage, everybody. Was or not to love on the swing and miss stuff from Dylan Cease. He's having as good of a season as any in that regard. Right around league average in walk percentage, below league average in barrel percentage, right around league average in hard hit percentage, below league average in ground ball percentage because he's not a ground ball pitcher. Cease, mind you, last season had a 3.47 ERA and just under 190 innings. The year before that, in 2023, he had a more of a Jekyll and Hyde, a 4.5 ERA and 177 innings that we saw there in his final year part with the White Sox, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to gain them confused right now. I believe that was his final year in Chicago. Had a great first half and then a not so great second half. Point I'm trying to make, guys, is that when you have a guy in Cease who has an array of pitches, a 6-pitch arsenal that I think the Mets would maximize more out of, especially his sinker. He's sweeper, 1%. I could definitely see that being picked up as well. The slider he throws the most at roughly 48% of the time, 47 to be exact, and he's sitting 89 with the slider. Four seam, 41% of the time, sitting right around 97. Curveball, 7% of the time, sitting right around 82. Sinker, 2% of the time, sitting right around 96. Changeup, 2% of the time, sitting right around 77. And we just talked about the sweeper there at 84 miles per hour, sitting where he only throws 1% of the time in his arsenal right now. So, guys, would you be willing to give up the assets that it would take for Dylan Cease? I would like to reiterate, it will not take an arm and a leg the way that it would for some other talents out there, especially with multiple years of control. There is a world where Dylan Cease may be deemed as even cheaper trade value-wise than Sandy Alcantara just based on club control alone. I know that might seem hard to fathom, but I have a very special guest on the platform that you guys will be able to watch in depth as he breaks down greatly that you guys will see on this Mets off day this Thursday for you all to check out. Fantastic interview, had such a great conversation. And my key takeaways from that conversation was that Dylan Cease's value is not nearly as high as what we were all maybe initially thinking. So all the more reason to be intrigued to see what the Padres are going to do, and they're going to kind of just get rid of him because they want to add immediate offense. And again, immediate offense, I think the guys that make most sense for that Padres team are obviously Vientos and then Mauricio Acuna in that category. It ain't going to be Beatty, but one of those three at minimum, I most certainly could be considered. I wouldn't be shocked or considered in a deal there for Mr. Dylan Cease. And for all those that are genuinely concerned about the baseline ERA, I understand those criticisms. I understand the reservations, but please don't forget the context I just shared with you, because the way that you guys might not care about the expected numbers and say, Wardy, shut up with the analytics and all this stuff, is the same way that you're not paying attention, because that's exactly how David Stearns operates. Furthermore, David is far more analytically involved than I ever could be as your normal fan. So just bear that in mind before saying to yourself, oh, there's no chance in heck that the Mets would even consider the guy. Why would they do it? These are all the reasons as to why they would do it. This man could come in and potentially be a shutdown starter for the Mets when right, be a top two their best. That is as solid of a 1-2-3 as you could probably ask for given the circumstances for the Mets from now up until the deadline. Then you mean to tell me you're 4-5 there? You're going to be having David Peterson potentially there, Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes on the outside looking in as your number 6 starter? Maybe you want to throw David in that group, and maybe you're more thinking highly of David than Manaea. I think Manaea has more stuff that are ace caliber, but I think Peterson has such a stronghold of a lefty that if that is your fearsome foursome of your 1 through 4 and Montas is your 5, genuinely speaking, Mets fans, how much do you have to complain about that? Then you allocate everything else then to say, okay, what are we doing with this bullpen? And we know the Mets have a plethora of options on the bullpen as to what they may be doing in that regard. That we broke down plenty in our past segment. Well, Will Samuel of The Athletic this past day. We also broke down more of those options in previous content as Jeff Passan revealed multiple players he has linked to the Mets as potential trade options, as well as a video that dropped even before then, a little bit more on Yon Duran and Griffin Jax in particular, everybody. But again, folks, let me know all your thoughts on Dylan Cease, if you're for or against a potential trade. Why would the Padres do it? They want immediate offense, and especially if they do add a starter to replace him, it's telling that, one, they don't love the idea of Cease and how he would fare in postseason. So that is an asterisk. That is something to bear in mind for the Mets. If they went out and made that move, they would have to make sure that they get Dylan Cease at their best, because if Buddy becomes batting practice the way they was for the Dodgers in the postseason, then it really ain't going to mean all that much by acquiring him, even if you gave up a little to land the guy, because you're not getting the results you're looking for. Something to think about. I know David has thought about that plenty, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the Mets do should they actually land a starter, because what latest reporting is indicating is that it's not going to be more of a mid-level back-end guy as it's a guy with ace caliber upside. Name me a handful of ace caliber starters available at this year's deadline outside of Dylan Cease and Joe Ryan. Oh yeah, you can't find them. There are very slim pickings to choose from right now, but Cease is the exception. He falls in that category, and he's a rental, so he should not cost you as much arm and a leg, even if you get in a bit of a bidding war, as the Mets are just one of multiple teams currently going after him. But let me know all your thoughts again on Dylan Cease, the pros and the cons that come along with them, everybody. And before I let you all go, as we always do, let me just relay once more our very exciting event that we have coming at Citi Field just in the next week or so, the official Wardy Day. It's Wardy here, and as you can see, we are at gorgeous Citi Field, and folks, you can get the ultimate, the prime experience with your guy Wardy at our first ever official Wardy Day. August 1st, Mets San Francisco Giants there for the evening game. The day after the MLB trade deadline, you, your friends, your loved ones, select Mets fans will get the ultimate experience with your guy Wardy. Not only are we going to hang out at the ball game together, but folks, look at the seating. We're going to be live here in the left field lounge. You guys will be able to chop it up with your guy Wardy. We're going to be debating as to who's the best pitcher of the rotation outside of Kodai Senga. We're going to be talking about who's the next best prospect to get called up. How do we feel about the trade deadline acquisitions? And guys, as you get back up here then, we are going to be giving you a $18 drink voucher, and with that drink voucher, you guys are going to be able to hit up the bars that we have right outside of here. So easy, so accessible. Again, prime seating, a truly fantastic experience. Our first ever Wardy Day here at Citi Field, guys, where you will get a chance to hang out with your guy Wardy. And the best part too, not only is it this amazing lounge in left field that you guys will hang out with me, but we're going to be on the field, pre-game access there for a group photo op. So I hope to see you, all you amazing Mets fans there. Click the link if you guys haven't already there to check out our available tickets, and let's go Mets. And not only are we going to be sitting here throughout the course of the ball game, you guys can also check out these seats that we have access to all here in the bar area here, right at the Milagro, where you guys can utilize your $18 drink voucher. Again, this is going to be at Wardy Day, August 1st, 2025. Oh wait, yeah, almost forgot. It's also fireworks night. Bang! Hope to see you guys there. There you go, guys. Again, tickets for Wardy Day are still available down below in the pinned comment of the chat that you guys will see in the comments down below and the description as well. Cannot wait to see so many of you amazing Mets fans at the ballpark August 1st. Until then, have a great one, folks. I'll see you all tomorrow for a lot more Mets content. A big video dropping with a special guest. Until then, have a great one. Peace out, everybody.